All right, thanks for coming back for the second half of our Find Your Sanity, Find Your Health teaching series. And I get the extreme privilege of speaking to you about respiratory support, respiratory health. And it's such a big deal, and it actually has quite an influence on our emotional health as well, which is kind of my specialty. But let's talk about the respiratory system all by itself for just a moment. What is the respiratory system? What are all the things included? Well, we always think about our lungs, right? But it actually starts up in our larynx, in our voice box, all the way down our windpipe called the trachea, into the bronchioles, the bronchus branching, and into the bronchioles that go throughout our lungs. And then obviously our lungs, quite a large organ really. And then there's alveoli. Those are the little sacs within our lungs that do the exchange process. We'll talk about the function of the lungs in just a minute. And then the pleural space. So that's the space around the lungs within the chest cavity. And then the diaphragm that makes your lungs open and express air and intake air also. So it's quite an extensive system with lots of moving parts. And also a lot of things that can go wrong. These are very sensitive tissues, and they have a systemic effect on our body. So sometimes when there's something going wrong in our respiratory system, we might feel it somewhere or everywhere else. So the respiratory system is super critical to overall wellness. Okay, so what is the actual function and purpose of our respiratory system? So the massive thing that it does is it brings oxygen into the blood and takes the waste of carbon dioxide out. That's the really simplified version of what it does. But it can do even more than that. Within our lungs also, we have little finger-like hairs called cilia. And those are the things that get things out that never belonged in your lungs in the first place. Things like germs and dust and any other kind of thing you might have inhaled that doesn't belong. And those cilia create mucus to stick onto that stuff. And then we express it by sneezing or coughing or spitting it out or swallowing it. So there's a lot going on in this respiratory system. And you can imagine if that goes down, then a lot of things can come in that don't belong there. And that can be what causes our body to feel unwell. So what happens when our respiratory system is under attack? Whether it be from seasonal threats, such as like when the pollen is high, or when we have certain seasons of the year where there's more sickness going around. When our respiratory system is under attack, we can feel really run down, right? We can feel really out of energy and just like generally unwell. And sometimes we'll mistake that thinking that it's something else when really the cause is in our respiratory system. Another thing that happens when our respiratory system isn't up to par is our emotional state can take a hit too. So I want to tell you a story about something that happened to me in 2018, where I had a serious lack of emotional control. Okay, so my first experience was in January. Everything seemed to be fine, and all of a sudden it wasn't fine. And I was absolutely opposite of calm. I was very frustrated, blowing up at my kids. Everything was wrong. And for hours and hours, I was reeling in frustration. And it took me a really long time to like even understand what was happening. And finally, a couple hours into it, I was like, I probably should apply some essential oils and see if I can calm down. And so I finally did put Serenity and Balance, two of my favorite oils that you might not think are for respiratory support, but really, really are. Because once I got my emotions to calm down, I could finally take a deep breath and oxygenate my body again, and everything calmed down. Well, the same event started to happen again about a month later. And that was, I was kind of in denial at first, right? I was like, this isn't happening again. But I started to hyperventilate, and I started to just feel really like stressed out. And a couple minutes into it, I was like, oh, I know what this is. I think this is terrible. I reached for my Serenity and Balance, and this time breathe, because that big hyperventilating factor was really scaring me. And within a few minutes of just inhaling the oil, I was like, oh, okay. And it went away within just a few minutes. Powerful. So once again, I was able to support my respiratory system that calmed down my emotional state. And then it happened again for a third time in April. So one in January, one in February. March seemed to go okay. But then again, in April, out of the blue, I started hyperventilating and I felt my heart start to race. And I was like, oh, nuh-uh, not today, Satan. And I grabbed my oils and went and sat in my mommy timeout space. And I breathed on those oils. I applied it to my chest and on the back of my neck. And I just breathed and breathed and breathed. And all of a sudden, all of that released. And that stress, that event never really came to fruition that time. And it hasn't happened again since. Because every time I start to feel my stress overload and my respiratory system kind of stop working at its best, I can grab some oils and that just kind of relieves any of that stress going on in my body. Amazing. Okay, so what I want to explain to you is something super simple we can all do no matter what oil you have in your house. But right now, today, because we're talking about respiratory support, our kind of oil of the moment is going to be Breathe. So Breathe Essential Oil blend is a beautiful blend of laurel, eucalyptus, peppermint, tea tree, lemon, cardamom, ravensara, and ravensara. Oh, if you have an oil near you, I encourage you to pick it up and just smell right out of the bottle. If it's a little strong for you out of the bottle, you can smell it out of the cap. Or you can put a drop in your palm, just like this. Rub it together. Cup over your nose. Don't get too close to your eyes. And breathe in. And I want to teach you a technique that's going to be a 1-2 punch. So the essential oils all on their own can really open up your airways and calm your mood. But then also, if you breathe in for a few seconds, hold it for a few seconds, and then breathe it all out for a few seconds, and you do that 3 or 4 times, just like this. Hold it. And completely empty your lungs. If you can do that for at least 4 seconds for each cycle, up to 7 seconds if you have really great lung health and capacity, and you do that 3 or 4 times, or however long it takes, you're going to feel such a sense of relief and openness in your airways. You'll feel the stress drain from your shoulders and your neck that gets all, like this when we're upset. And when we're stressed, we are not taking a deep breath. So this is like a 1-2 punch to relieve stress and improve your respiratory health at the same time. I super, super love that. Okay, so the second thing I want to say, so this is like turning yourself into a diffuser, right? This is the aromatic method of using essential oils. But what I want to encourage you is in times where seasonal threats or respiratory stress might be more common, I want to encourage you to use your diffuser like it's your job. Oftentimes you can find a diffuser that will run for 12 hours or more. And I want to show you how I use one of ours. This is a doTERRA pedal diffuser. I super love this one. They have redesigned it recently so that it runs a lot longer. And so all that I do is I fill it up. There's a little red button in here, and you fill it up. Under that button, if you fill it up too much, dump some of it out because it won't work quite as well as it should. So I've got the water in there. And I'm going to put Breathe, but I'm going to put a buddy with it. I love Breathe all by itself, but I super love to combine Breathe and Lime. So Breathe is great at opening the airways. It has just amazing properties to help increase oxygenation in your blood. But then, so I'm going to do this, hang on, I can't count. 5 drops of Breathe, and then I'll do about 3 drops of Lime. And you can play with it if you want it stronger or more mild, or if you have a small room versus a big room. Feel free to play with your ratios, but this is just a good place to begin. And then I will set this. So the Breathe will be the opening the airways, right? And then the Lime has tremendous cleansing effects that can, remember those cilia, they produce mucus. Well, sometimes they can go a little crazy and produce way too much. And so the Lime can help strip some of that so that they operate properly and don't get all gunked up. So I set it for 12 hours. You can set it and forget it. You can even use your diffuser for that breathing technique we spoke about. So if you live in a really dry climate, or if you feel like, your lungs are kind of dry, you can do that breathing in and breathing out with the mist of your diffuser, and then set it in the room and let it continue to support your respiratory system. Oh, okay. So I want to tell you about some other combinations I love to do with Breathe. So Breathe as the base, and then we might add things like lavender at night. So that's what my children love. My boys love Breathe and lavender. I'll ask them, what do you want in your diffuser tonight? Breathe and lavender every single time. And I feel really great about doing that for them. The breathe is going to support their respiratory system, and the lavender is going to keep them calm and sleeping all night long. And that's not just for kids. It works on adults too. And then I love to also do, if there's a cough going on, if we have really bad seasonal threats going on and we're developing some really discomfort, and then what I like to add for that is cedarwood and frankincense. So I'll start with breathe, 3 or 4 drops of breathe, and then 1 or 2 drops of cedarwood and frankincense, really to support the lungs to just be calm and to function properly. And then if you're feeling really run down, especially when seasonal threats are high and you wake up and you're like, I don't feel great. What I love to do is I start with breathe again, and then I add cardamom and arborvitae, however you pronounce it. But I love these 2 oils. Cardamom is super cleansing and warming to your body, and arborvitae is like a tree, right? And so it is great at just supporting and strengthening your lungs, and also great at cleansing out everything at the same time. And it smells phenomenal. Breathe, arborvitae, cardamom. Love it. Okay, for seasonal threats, when the pollen is high, we can do breathe and then add some lemon and lavender, and that's a great combination as well. So some other things we can do that aren't necessarily breathe related for all overall respiratory health, kind of like Heather was talking about On Guard. So I love On Guard, but I often will get kind of tired of that same scent over and over again. And so I'll start with On Guard, and then I'll add some buddies to it, like I did with the breathe. So oftentimes I'll start with On Guard, and then I'll add Citrus Bliss, which is a beautiful blend of citruses and lemon and vanilla, and it just smells like sunshine. And so I combine them together, and that aroma is phenomenal while it's purifying the air and supporting my respiratory system. Bonus, right? Or I will just add some more of whatever's in On Guard. So I'll add a little rosemary if I'm in the mood for something herby, or some more citrus if I want a little bit of a pick-me-up at the same time. So again, with Purify is another blend that I use as a starter and a base blend, and then I add some things to it depending on what's going on. That's one I run a lot when their seasonal threats are really high, to keep the air clean and purified, right? But the smell of it all by itself isn't my favorite personally. And so I'll add things like extra lemon to it, or coriander is beautiful with it. I super love that blend. So feel free to play with your oils and start with something like as a base, and then try adding a couple of buddies to just boost their effectiveness and kind of alter the aroma. So some other miscellaneous oils that are great for respiratory health to diffuse are wild orange all by itself. It's amazing. Or arborvitae, like I said, juniper berry, and even lime. So just play with your oils, and play with oils that are really cleansing and have really bright aromatic components. Some non-traditional methods of using essential oils for respiratory support. So we're going to go beyond the diffuser now, okay? So some things I love to do are breathe drops. They're just like a little cough drop full of breathe. On Guard has drops too. But sucking on those when you're going to be around people could be a really great thing to support your health, support your respiratory system, and keep germs away, right? So that's a really great way to go. Or if you're exercising or going for a walk and you're trying to keep your lungs open, it's a great thing. Oh. Sorry for the interruption, my phone rang. So breathe drops are just great if you're going for a walk, to just support opening those airways and keeping your respiratory system healthy and strong. And then another non-traditional method is Epsom salt baths. I super love to do this, or even a foot bath would be fantastic. So you can take a nice warm bath, and you'll take a cup of Epsom salt, and then add some oils to it. Some oils that would be really great this time of year are like breathe, and then lavender and frankincense. That would be great for respiratory health, calming the body, a great way to support your body going to a really good sleep. And we know that sleep is phenomenal for our health, right? So this is something that's a little bit outside the box, but is so easily done. Steam in the shower as well. If you're not a bath person, you can totally do the same thing in the shower. My husband always steals my peppermint, and it's constantly in the shower, so I just buy an extra bottle. And he will put it on the back side of the shower where the water doesn't quite hit it, and it steams up in the bathroom for him, and he loves it. Gives a great start to his day to open his airways and energize his body. It's fantastic. Also, applying oils to the bottom of your feet. So you can find this online, but this is a reflexology chart. And the part on your foot that's basically like your hand, from like this, the bottom of your knuckles on your toes, all the way to the ends of your toes. This is where a lot of our reflex points are for our respiratory system areas. So you can apply the same oils we said about the diffusers. So breathe in lime, or breathe in lavender, or breathe in cardamom and arborvitae. You can put that on the bottom of your feet. Really rub it in before you go to bed. Put some socks on, and it will support your whole respiratory system from your feet. How cool is that? Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is like those same blends we can apply on the feet. You can put them in a roller. You can make a roller bottle with them. I don't have one near me, but you can make a roller bottle and then you can have it for you on the go. And with that roller bottle, you can apply it onto your chest. If you have a buddy, they can help you put it on the back of your chest. Or you can even just roll it in your hands and smell, or you can smell directly from the roller bottle. So that's a great way to take oils with you so that you are always feeling like you're ready and supported. So yeah, adapting those roller bottles into adapting the diffuser blends into roller bottles is a great way to apply the oils to your body. And you can also dilute them down so they're safe for little people and for adults at the same time. Another tip for respiratory health that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with diffusers or even any specific recipe is change your furnace filters. At least once a month when the pollen is high, or when the seasonal threats are high, or when there's lots of extra germs running around. If you even diffuse or replace it every couple of weeks can be really helpful. And I like to apply essential oils to my furnace filters. I often will use either On Guard or Purify, and I'll just drop it. Or if I have this hand sanitizer like Heather talked about, I'll spray it so it diffuses it all over the thing. But I'll just drop a few oils on my furnace filter as I install the new one. It's amazing. So that's all aromatic, right? But there are things we can do internally as well to support our respiratory system. So I really love the product called Tri-Ease, which is just lemon, lavender, peppermint, made very convenient and put in a soft gel so that you can take it orally. And this is what I have used to help when the pollen is high, because I am very susceptible to that, and it helps tremendously. And if you have that, or you need a little pick-me-up, or need it to be a little give it a boost, you can make your own with lemon, lavender, peppermint, and add tea tree oil in a veggie cap, and you can swallow it the same way. And I take that once or twice a day, depending on how I'm feeling. And I love that too. We can listen to our bodies and respond with wisdom and doing something good for our bodies, right? So the last thing I want to talk to you about is another topical application, which is a cough rub that I make. And it's a blend of oils and coconut oil, and you can make your own respiratory rub, and it's phenomenal. And I use that on my kids all the time. Okay, one last little tip. Let's say you're in the grocery store, and it's right now when the grocery store is bananas. And speaking of bananas, and you're starting to lose it, you're feeling like you're getting stressed, or your respiratory system is under attack. Here's a little tip. Go to the produce section. The produce section is your friend. Buy an orange. Peel the orange and eat the orange. Then keep the peels in your pockets and break open those oil sacs from the orange and smell them, and let that oil help keep your hands clean. And then you can just have constant support while you finish your shopping trip, because I was at the grocery store a few days ago. Very stressful place right now, but this would give you so much emotional support as well as supporting your respiratory system at the same time. Peppermint, if you go to the herb section, you could buy peppermint leaves and do the same thing. I would rather have doTERRA oils because I know where that was grown, but in a pinch, you can still give yourself amazing respiratory and immune support just by having things that God gave us in the form of plants. So I hope that helps you. I hope that you find some support for respiratory and emotional support at the same time. And now Vicki is going to wrap us up with her final words.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, wasn't that amazing, you guys? I know it probably felt like a fire hose to some of you, especially if you're brand new to this world. You're like, oh, what? But what I hope that you walk away with is just a couple of things that you can use right now to help you feel empowered with your health and your wellness, right? Like we titled this, Find Your Sanity and Find Your Health, because the last thing we want, and I think all of us can say, none of us this week have been like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Why? because we've been empowered with a lot of education for a lot of years, and we understand a lot of different things about the body, and we're like, you know what? Okay, this is our time to shine. Like, this is our time for our own families to feel empowered to use what we have at our disposal and to share that with all of you so that you feel the same way. So if you've been listening and you're just pick a few things, like grab a few things. If you have some oils in your house, great. If you're listening to this and you're already in our oil family, awesome. If you're not and you're like, wait a second, I don't have any of this stuff she's talking about, but I want to get some, then I want to tell you how to do that. Whoever invited you to this group, please get a hold of them and have them help you if they can. And if they can't, have them get a hold of one of us, and we can help you get set up with something that is going to be for your particular situation. We don't want to say, you know, hey, buy these 10 oils or whatever, if that's not your situation. We like to work one-on-one, but make sure that you reach out to one of us or whoever invited you, okay? Because we can totally help you with that. We have some resources for those of you who aren't yet part of our oil family that we're going to give you for free if you go ahead and get started with whatever kit you decide to get started with. So we have a really cool resource list of a lot of the stuff that these ladies talked about, and some other things that we have from books and different things that we've collected over the years that we will give you for this particular time and season that will help support your family. So get a hold of one of us and we can help you with that. One little tidbit that I want to say before we leave is that all of these oils that we're talking about are doTERRA specific oils, and these oils carry what is called the CPTG standard, certified pure therapeutic grade. What that is that's the promise that doTERRA gives to you as the consumer, that those oils come from plants that are grown indigenously around the world, where those plants naturally grow and have the best and most dynamic chemistry that our bodies can utilize. It also means that those oils are tested the way doTERRA's standard of testing is, which is like way high, super high. There's 13, I believe it's still 13, it could be more than that now, tests done at 3 different points of the supply chain, so that you know that when you get a bottle of lavender today, that it has the same chemical structure. There's no pesticides, there's no fillers, there's nothing extra. It's just pure lavender oil with the chemical profile that doTERRA is looking for, same today as it was 6 months ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. That is their promise to you. So that when we talk about internal usage or even topical usage or any of the usages we're talking about doTERRA oils because we know that's safe for you, and we would not recommend anything else, okay? I think that is all. Wash your hands. Eat your vegetables. Get a hold of us. We can get some great things in your homes to help you. Cut out sugar, cut out some dairy. It causes mucus, you guys. We're in this together, and we want to be a support for you. So get a hold of us and have a blessed day. Take care.